Host Sean Lennon on Pro Wrestling Enforcer, and we're talking to Billie Starkz on PWE, and she's currently wrestling for the St. Louis Anarchy, among other promotions in the Midwest. Plus, we've seen her in GCW, we've seen her in Black Label Pro, we've seen her at Freelance Underground, and also the Girl Fight Champion as well of that promotion, and we welcome her on the show. We appreciate you being on, Billie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no problem at all. It's great to have you, especially right before this big weekend. I know you're going to be in action for a few shows in Chicago or Hoffman Estates, which is like close to Chicago, basically, at Freelance Underground. We'll see you at 3 Cup Stuff, the Lawlor show, Black Label Pro, and you've just had a huge 2021 so far. So I'm sure you're looking to end it the right way, right?
Of course. The years get bigger and bigger as we keep going.
Definitely. And do you feel like you've noticed that when you've had, like, you look at your like subscribers and followers that they've increased?
It's always like shocking to me to see how many people like follow me and like keep up with all the stuff I have going on. Because I don't expect it. I'm like, oh, people actually watch this?
For sure. Well, I think that another thing is like the independent wrestling has been huge this past year. Even with the pandemic and everything going on, people really wanted to go out, go see their favorite shows. And, we didn't have like the WWE or AEW for at least the beginning of the summer or even spring. So independent wrestling provided that void.
Yeah, I think independent wrestling grew so much during the pandemic. I know me as a wrestler thought it was like very strange for a while, just wrestling without fans at shows. And then when fans did start coming to shows, it was so many more people. And then we still had to limit it because of COVID and everything else. But I think because we had so much time on our hands that there were so many more people watching wrestling.
Definitely. And then when was the first show that you noticed all these people coming, like more than usual? Is there a particular show?
So the show that I get reminded of like how I am like, oh, this is crazy that like wrestling's coming back. It's like the Collective last year with like everybody and like running multiple shows in that one weekend. There was a bunch of people there. It was still safe because it was a huge building. Everybody was still spread out. But it was just so much wrestling, and you could see people just enjoying wrestling and not being cooped up in their houses.
I know that was amazing. I actually watched a few of those shows, and they turned out really well. And you were also, going to be in that next Gen Scramble at the 3 Cup Stuff. So I wanted to talk to you about that, because why should we be looking at you perform alongside other great young talent?
I think that I have so much to provide, and so does everybody else in that scramble, because we are like the next generation coming up in wrestling, and I think we all have bright futures. But I am going to win, so that's why you should watch it.
For sure. I think it's a fun match, with Jordan Oliver there, even Action Mike Jackson, who is like, the mystery guy. And yeah, it's fun for a lot of wrestlers who are coming up that people are not familiar with. They get a chance to watch you guys in this one. That'll be a late show too. So is that one of the later shows that you've wrestled?
So Girl Fight does midnight Girl Fight shows, so I think that's probably been like one of the latest shows. And then also the Fight Forever for GCW, I ended up wrestling at like 4 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, okay. Nice. And talk about also the Future Series tournament. I saw that show. It was really good. You went to the finals at the event. Was that the first time you wrestled more than once at an event?
I've done a few tournaments. I actually won the Girl Fight title in a tournament.
Okay.
So I haven't done like a lot or anything, but this was not my first time. But it's still a workload to get through that many matches, back to back to back.
Yeah, I know. The first one was like obviously you had 2 triple threat matches, and I thought they were both they come off really well. So I really love the way that IWTV presents the shows too. And also, you know, talk about, is it important for you to have something besides pro wrestling to fall back on? You know, you're doing very well in school. And so talk about that.
So right now I'm still in high school. I'm finishing up high school. Right now I'm in a few college classes, just trying to get like my required credits. And I've been in all AP, getting straight A's so far. Fingers crossed that keeps going.
Definitely. Is that
Right now I don't know what I want to do in college though, but like I have the option of whatever I do want to do, I can do that as soon as I'm out of high school.
awesome? And is that hard for you to maintain, you know, doing the wrestling shows and you know, traveling sometimes to do them?
Um, it's a little hard keeping up with school and traveling and wrestling and all that just jazz. But my teachers are very supportive of what I do, so they've been helping a lot. Am I like, oh, I'm traveling this weekend, or I'm not going to be here Monday morning. Can I get my work for that so I can knock it out before I get here? This and that and that and this. Um, Most of the time, they're willing to work with me and get it all done. And then, luckily, during like COVID last year, I was traveling a lot, and school was online, so I could take school with me. It's
Okay.
weird being back in school.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is. And when we see you on the road, what kind of music do you enjoy listening to? Like what gets you fired up? Because you know you have maybe a 6-hour, 8-hour ride. What gets you fired up when you say, "Oh, I'm going to get in that ring and tonight"? And
See, I get rare control over the radio because I travel with Mouse so much, which is my stepfather. Um, but when I do, I am playing bangers. So I am like a big Machine Gun Kelly fan, Juice World, Neck Deep, Front Bottoms. Like those are all like artists and bands that I love, and they
Mhm.
always keep me going.
Definitely, definitely. So your father drives you to the events for the most part?
Yes, him or my mother.
Okay, cool. That's good. You know Cole Radrick, he's another former opponent, and you guys are going to be teaming up with Marcus Mathers at Freelance, No Place Like Home. So are you excited to work? Because you're going to take on the Bang Bros, Chris Castro. I don't think you fought them before.
I think that's going to be a really exciting match, and I think I got great partners in that. Uh, Cole is one of my favorites, and I love Marcus, of course. And I feel like we're going to make a great team. And I get it that this is like the other opponent's like home, but like the title says, there's no place like home. So anywhere can be home as long as it's in a wrestling ring.
Definitely. And was that something you were looking at, like when you went to the Freelance Underground? Because you know you took on Lainey, she was someone you had wrestled before, but you were thinking, oh, this other talent I'd like to see myself with.
I'm sorry you cut out.
Oh, no worries. When you were at Freelance Underground, did you look at all the other talent and just see like, yeah, I'd like to take on some of them?
Oh, yeah, of course. I think they're very like, I love their brand so much and they have such unique talent. And I feel like a lot of them are younger talent, are getting better and better. And I've put myself in the story, so it's always fun to have like those new opponents that are also up and coming, so you can push each other to the limits.
Definitely. It's going to be an exciting matchup. And, you know, we just talked about why pro wrestling was doing amazing during the pandemic and really, you know, continue to thrive no matter what COVID-19 has thrown at it. And you feel like you're a big part of that, what you and all the independent wrestlers are doing. No, I was just saying that pro wrestling was doing amazing during the pandemic, like we mentioned. So talk about being a big part of that with the other independent wrestlers, why it's continuing to thrive no matter what COVID-19 has thrown at it.
Yeah, I saw wrestling thrive during COVID because we're all still wanting to create content and for people to enjoy wrestling. I got to be part of that. Cole Radrick did, Trey Lamar. I think we all benefited from COVID because there were so many wrestlers that weren't wrestling. And we got spotlight on us because we were traveling and still wrestling and being safe as much as possible. Like I was still getting tested every week for COVID. And luckily I caught it once, stayed in lockdown for 2 weeks, and
Oh,
then
wow.
I passed, and then I was able to go wrestle again.
Definitely. that was kind of like the risk you guys take, you know, going out and performing.
Yeah, this world is so crazy right now, but I feel like this is like the thing I love to do, and it drove me insane for like the month that I wasn't wrestling in front of people. And I know people were waiting so much longer than that before they were able to even get into a wrestling ring again.
Definitely. Now talk about you know, Killer Kelly. You know, that was a fun match you had with her, and you know, you got the call to wrestle her. I believe it was maybe the night before, or I'm not sure when, but you were a late replacement. So how excited to see that match with her and Kylie Ray for the first time, but just, you know, drawing upon your own experience with Killer Kelly.
So I got a message from Mikey, who's the promoter of Black Label, like that morning of like, oh, hey, we need a fill-in. And I was like, oh, what do you need me to do? He was like, oh, you're wrestling Killer Kelly. And I was like, oh, sick. And Collective Weekend was really crazy for me because I was just like the day before like the show started, my like gear bag got taken out of the car at a parking lot and all my stuff was gone, and then I was able to get it and for this, and I was like, cool. And I was super excited. It was fun wrestling Killer Kelly, and it seemed like it was a good replacement, but I don't know if I can put on a better show than Kylie Ray. I think she's one of the top independent women right now, and she wrestles on like a high level that I hope to achieve one day.
Definitely. And, you know, but I thought that was a really good match. And, you know, like you said, despite that you had, you know, some personal stuff taken from you, unfortunately, you were still came out with a great match. Yeah, I was sorry to hear about that. I heard when that happened.
Yeah, stuff happens. Luckily, we found it. It could have been a lot worse. I joked about it. I was like, oh, I'll just wear like a t-shirt and cut off jeans. I'll borrow someone's kick pads. I'll be a yarder for a day.
Definitely. Now, you know, talk about Marcus Mathers. You know, we're getting more familiar with him. He's wrestling this weekend. You guys have wrestled each other at the Intergender Bonanza super title match. And what can you tell us about him?
I think he's a great professional wrestler. He's out of the PA area. He's has a few matches on IWTV. He's wrestled like Ricky. This weekend he wrestled Atticus in a death match, and it was at H2O. He's an H2O student, and he was my prom date, so I ended up dating him. So that's my boyfriend. He makes me very happy, and I get to see him a lot more. It's weird being long distance, but kind of just fell into place, and I'm happy he's in my life.
Oh, glad to hear that. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see the matches, how they play out this weekend as well. And what were your thoughts on the NWA women's pay-per-view Empower? You've shared the ring with quite a few women that were part of that show. So were you happy to see them get that pay-per-view?
Yeah, I thought it was a great opportunity for all of those women and just for women wrestling to be highlighted. And I thought it did a really good job of showing all of that. I haven't got to watch the full show yet. I only got to see like snippets of it because I was also wrestling during that day.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, Nick Gage is coming to Chicago, so that should be fun. You know, what do you think? Do you think we're ready for him in Chicago?
I think everybody should be ready for Nick Gage. It's great.
Yeah, especially he's teaming up with Kylie Ray at Freelance, so that should be interesting as well.
I'm really excited to see that match. I think it's going to be a great dynamic.
For sure. Well, I'm really excited for this weekend. I'll see you out there. Billie, thank you again for being on Pro Wrestling Forcer, catching up with you. It's been wonderful. And, you know, please, if you have any, oh, actually, I did want to ask one question. So if you see a fan wearing a Billie Starkz shirt, how does that make you feel?
It's very like joyful for me, and it's reminds me of when I was a fan and I get to wear a wrestling shirt and then meet them. And it's still like one of those things where I'm looking back at it and I'm like, oh, I love that people want to support me. And I really do feel that as like, oh, I'm doing my job and I'm also making people enjoy wrestling.
Nice. For sure. And we appreciate you again being on Pro Wrestling Enforcer. If there's anything you'd like to plug, go ahead.
All my social media is at Billie Starkz, BILLIE, and then Starkz is STRRKZ. And then I also have a big cartel if you want to check that out and get any of my merch.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, check that out. And Billie, we appreciate you being on the show. And of course, this won't be the other time we see you this month. I did hear that you're going to be making your debut at CSW. I don't know, you can confirm that?
It's not my debut, but I will be back there very soon.
Yeah, you'll be there. Okay, I wasn't sure if you had been there or not, and we'll see you there for the women's title match. And we appreciate you again being on Pro Wrestling Enforcer. Best of luck, and hope to see you this weekend as well.